record, and then it gives
It
you the
is
option to put that on
on the main menu.
the bar, one of the bars, the lower bar.
Yeah. Okay. It is the 27th of May, 2026. This is Little Red Wagon Project, WIKISPEED Stand-Up. You want to start us off, Lauren?
Sure. Yeah, it's just Lauren, Salish Sea near British Columbia, Canada. And the past week, I bought some ESP32s. I was looking some more at um, Dada Mail, and then there's another one that I there's a few threads I made notes of, I'm sure, but I haven't found them. I did a search. So the I may buy a hosting $2 a month hosting service, which is recommended. It's recommended for nonprofits and open source. And then set up the Dada Mail or another easier one, a more modern one. It's not easier, but it's more modern. Has a few more bells and whistles, and it's the latest posts on Dada Mail are really from 10 years ago, so it might be safer to pick one that's got more recent ones. Um, that's kind of it for me. I'm I am making progress though in uh multiple, like the mail thing is for multiple groups I'm involved with, and I was working at my workbench on a harmonica that had stuck reeds today and managed to get them unstuck. Uh so yeah, I'm kind of moving stuff around and actually making some progress in organizing some. I'll count that too. Coming week, I actually want to back up my main home computer, which is a Linux box, and upgrade it to a recent good Linux, and do that with my other box and that I'm mostly using for this project, and uh, then get to the containers, get some facility with containers. And I am working towards Linux. We're having a Linux meeting next week. Uh, the last two were really interesting. My phone, basically, I got a kind of DNS modification that's quite good for security. Anyway, so that's next Wednesday, not tonight, but I'll be going to that and taking questions. So if you have any container Linux questions, send them to me. And blocks are mm, not a whole lot. Making some medical arrangements and things. So there is a theme with I have that, and that's it for me for the stand up.
Okay. Dave, you're up.
Okay. I this last week I spent a fair amount of time working on the electronic aspects of my brain healer device, and after spending a great deal of time and modest amount of money trying to do it with 555 timers, I decided I'm going to have to go with the Arduino, using that to control it for a couple of reasons. One is that I had a terrible time getting the correct frequency with the 555 timers. You know, getting the components right. It depends on the value of the components. And then once I got it right, I found that it tended to drift. It was just like steadily increase. It's just sitting there, you know, the frequency going up, up, up. And since this project requires very precise frequencies, you know, that's not acceptable. And so I've been working with the Arduino and come up with some code for doing that. Um, and have been working on that a bit today. And, you know, time uh, time is always a problem there. For next week, I plan to continue on it. Uh, one, we're on blocks now, right now.
Yep.
Yeah. One interesting block is I found that it's kind of hard to get a 40 cycle tone from a speaker. That's a very low bass range, and the bass range you notice are always usually big speakers in boxes and everything, and trying to get it out of a small piezoelectric speaker is kind of impossible there. But I did find that I read about how if you've got two speakers and they're giving off a high frequency tone with a slight difference, the sound waves will merge and alternately cancel and reinforce until what you get is a tone that is the difference between the two speakers. I mean, think of the sound waves going out there. One's a slightly different frequency than the other, and as the sound waves change, some of the time it'll be canceling out, and sometimes it'll be enforcing, and it'll create a beat at the tone of the difference between them. And so I'm trying to experiment with that. Time limitations prevented me from doing it. I was trying to get that done before the meeting so I could tell you how it went. But anyway, I'm going to be working on that.
Okay.
And of course, that requires that I have two speakers with very precise tone control there, which I was having a little trouble with. And so blocks, that's one of the blocks is going to be getting that to work right. Basically, the block is that you can't do 40 beats out of a small speaker. Time is going to be a problem there, as always. This last week was Memorial Day here, which involved us giving a party, which took up one day, and me preparing for the party, which took up the day before, and me recovering from the party, which is the day after. So I was 3 days shot this week.
Okay. That's it. Yeah, that should be done, right?
Excuse me?
That should be the end of your, that was the end of your blocks, right?
That was time and solving this problem with the speakers.
Right.
Uh,
Okay, so I guess it's my turn. Michael Wolchuk, Saskatoon, Canada. Not a lot to report from this week because I knew I wasn't going to get too much. I did look through some of the stuff that Lauren sent. And next week, I am expecting that I'm still not going to get very much done. Still looking at, we're almost finished sanding 1,000 feet of fence, and we're going to be spraying it next week. So, and that's basically my blocks. And I guess retro, Lauren.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'll give myself a 6 and the team 7 and process improvement. Maybe no, I don't have process improvement right now.
Okay. Dave?
okay, well, I'm going to give myself an 8 because although I spent most of the week failing to do what I wanted to with the 555 timer, like Edison, I discovered 500 ways not to do this with his light bulb there, and so I think and I ordered a lot of parts which I turned out not needing, boxes of capacitors and stuff like that. But so I'm going to give, and I'll give I'll give the team a 7 too.
Okay. All right. I'm going to give myself a 2 because I knew that I wasn't going to get very much done. And I'll give the team a 7. I'll agree. And I'll kick off the discussion with Dave. I'm pretty sure that the 555 is pretty well known for wandering a bit on the oscillator values.
Yeah. Are we in the part where you stop the recording and do the crosstalk?
Yeah, crosstalk. We don't have to record it if you don't want to. We can
Well,
stop
it doesn't matter to me. I was just following the usual procedure that usually when we get into crosstalk, you discontinue the
It's a
recording.
real option to leave it on if it's technical. It's good to
Yeah,
leave.
Okay, yeah, okay, okay. Well, yeah, you were saying
so
that the 555 is known for wandering.
well, it's not the 555 itself. It's the components that you use for the RLC circuit as they warm up. They're very temperature dependent, especially the capacitors. So it's not abnormal for them to wander. And crystals is how they used to get around it. But crystals are finicky on their own. So yeah, using the Arduino or an ESP32 probably makes the most sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, the difference in the frequencies, if you ever heard a multi-engine airplane go by, the props are turning at slightly different speeds, and you hear like a whoom 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 as they go by. I think that's the same effect that you're going for. But I'm not sure. What are you actually using piezoelectric speakers?
Yeah, for a couple of reasons. One is the power consideration. They take very little power,
Mm-hmm.
and they're also very small. I mean, even if first of all, uh, I did actually purchase a couple of larger speakers, which I think were probably the usual magnet-driven speakers, and those
Mm-hmm.
were like 3 watts or something. And I'm hoping to keep this whole thing, including the lights, under 2 watts because that's kind of a fairly standard thing for plugs anyway. So
Mm-hmm.
uh, um, that plus the matter of size, like I said, usually a bass speaker is big and comes in a big speaker. I want this thing to be a small device. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try going, if I can at all, do it with the piezoelectric speakers.
Yeah, I don't remember the frequencies that piezos like, but I mean something like 2000 versus 2040. Is that kind of where you're aiming?
Uh, well, the two speakers would be 40 hertz apart.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm experimenting a little bit. The other thing, I wrote some code to generate uh, our Arduinos have a tone command which says to create a certain tone, which you can create a specific tone. The problem is that you can only do that on one pin at a time. And the whole idea here is I'm going to need to do it on at least two, and then probably another one for the lights. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's so I wrote my own code for it, and it works very well at 40. But now that I tried getting a higher, like a 1,000 and 1,040, I'm having trouble getting it to hit the right frequency with my code.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and so
I would
I
suggest
what?
I would suggest that your code is probably okay. You may want to try an ESP32 because it runs a whole lot faster.
Yeah, I could try that. The problem is that the ESP32s work on 3.3 volts, and this is going to need to drive probably a MOSFET transistor to get the power for the thing, and I think it's a little hard to drive those on 3.3. So like I said, I'm experimenting around and all, but
So what I normally do with any of the Arduinos and ESP32s is I have the pin high normally, and I switch it low when it's active. So you can have a 5-volt supply, and it doesn't really do a whole lot through the piezo if it's a 3.3. But when you switch it to 0 and then back up, is when you start getting your pulses. So you don't actually need 5 volts out of the ESP32. 3.3 does kind of work, if that made any sense.
Yeah, I I had read that the field effect transistors normally have a trigger point of, I don't know, I forget what it was, but it was more than 5. Now, I have found from experience that it works fine with 5, but I don't know about, I'm thinking I'm going to need something like that for the power requirements for the LEDs. Because
Oh, I see.
I got 25 LEDs on this thing.
Okay.
And each one is a 12 volt max LED. So I forget what it was. It came out to something like maybe 20. I think it was 20 milliamps a piece, which was coming out to half an amp right there for all these. Uh, so. Uh,
So
I'm
so there's
thinking,
very inexpensive LED driver chips that are designed to do like 8 or 10 LEDs in series, and you just give a PWM signal to it, and that gives if you've got RGB LEDs, you can change the colors and stuff like that. But the chips they're used in those cheap Chinese LED strips. So the chips are very inexpensive, but I don't I haven't used them. I've seen them, I've seen the spec sheets and stuff, but it's not, I don't have a recommendation for one, but it might be easier than to driving the LEDs directly because it's a current driver. It's not really a PWM signal, if you know what I mean. Like
uh,
you're trying to limit the current because how much current you put through it um, is
well,
how
well,
bright it's going to be and stuff.
yeah. Well, the LEDs actually come with wires attached and a resistor on them.
Oh, okay, that's the way of it. Okay.
And I'll control the brightness. Well, I'm thinking of a couple of features for this thing. I mean, it'll have both light and sound. And
Hmm.
I've also been reading about, a lot about the value of 40 hertz pulses, but also some about 32. So I figured I might have a switch on it, on this thing that you could switch between 32 and 40, and
Okay.
another switch for brightness. Actually, the on-off switch will be a 3 position. Middle is off, and one up is 40, and down is 32, and
Okay.
maybe another switch to turn off the sound if you only want the lights.
Lights.
And
Okay.
that's one of the advantages of
So
using the Arduino. That once I start getting a little bit complicated like that, it might be easier than trying to do it with an oscillator.
yes, because the hardware takes a redesign, whereas the Arduino just needs software.
Yeah, right. Like I said, the problem I'm having is just this problem of I'll tell it with my code, I'll tell it to give me a 1000 hertz signal, and it'll give me like a 993, or something like that. And I'm having trouble figuring out what's wrong. But I got to go over my math. Like I said, I was just doing this actually, just before the meeting here, and so I haven't had time to quite figure out what the problem is. It might just be my equations or something. Uh,
It may be the resolution of the timer.
well, I'm using a microsecond timer on this. Uh,
Um, okay.
uh, so that
So if it's running on an interrupt.
uh, and it's not on an interrupt. It's just I'm just basically driving the pins up and down,
Okay.
I have an equation that converts basically it computes a duration between it switching it up and down. And like I said, I'll get it worked out or something. I'll just figure it out here.
Okay.
Uh, I would like to know what the optimum frequency for these speakers is, but haven't found where I got the speakers that I'm using here or something. I mean, I've got, you can't see it here, but I've got, the whole, cabinets here with, dozens and
Parts.
dozens of components and everything. I pulled out the one that said speakers. Uh, so we'll
If I
see.
remember, the Piezo's like going at higher frequencies, but I don't think the Arduinos like driving things at high frequency because they're not that accurate. So
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I might try, a lower frequency. Like I said, they had no trouble giving me this equation that I'm using. Uh, and I know the tone seems to work very well with the
okay,
higher frequencies. At least they claim it does. But I've never tried to make a high. I mean, I tried. I think I've made like a tone use 1,000 or something like that. Um,
okay,
but like I said, I just whipped up this code to be able to do it on more than one pin. And so I wonder if
okay.
maybe they're interfering with each other or something. I don't know.
Uh,
Uh,
okay. Well, that's it for me. I'm gonna hit the stop in the recording, or is there anything anybody else wants to talk about? No, not really. Okay, I'm gonna hit stop.